nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
All right, welcome here to Edge Radio 99.3 FM. This indeed is Media Mothership for another exciting jam-packed episode. We're broadcasting out of Edge Radio Studios here in Nipaluna, Hobart, Tasmania. And I'm your host, Craig Norris. On this show, we explore how media can shape our understanding of the world around us, and we're streaming on edgeradio.org.au, as well as live streaming on YouTube, as well as Twitch. You can find us just by searching Media Mothership. Message us directly into the studio, either via our SMS on 0488811707, or send us a message on the YouTube or Twitch chat. This episode's going to be quite interesting. We've got some media news, media culture to go over, as well as some discussion of accents in movies and their significance. So keep listening. And today we've got a live musical or kind of accompaniment with the beautiful sounds of the kalimba. There we go, live in studio. So let's have a look at some interesting media news pieces that have come up over the last week or two. So over in Japan, a Japanese actor's dramatic Pokemon save data loss has gone viral, triggering traumatic memories and sympathy from fellow gamers. This is an article from IGN yesterday. The subtitle is, "Even if save data disappears, the memories remain." Let's listen to a bit of the drama from the Japanese live streamer. So this actor, Shinya Okada, has been doing a video game YouTube channel, and he'd logged in to his in his latest Let's Play video posted April 29th. Owada's cheerful enthusiasm, as the article says, to continue his Pokemon Red adventure gradually morphs into disbelief as the game asks him if he wants to start from the beginning. Owada's startled reaction of, "Wait, what?" as he realizes that all the hours he has put into capturing and training Pokemon have vanished are palpable. Let's listen to that drama.
どういう意味？こんにちは。大和田信也です。まずはこちらご覧ください。それは突然の出来事でした。さあ今日もポケモンの赤続きやろう。はい、またこの音楽がね、ワクワクワクワクワクドキドキドキドキするんでね、ポケットモンスターいきます。はい、仲間を連れて出発です。最初から始めるとし、ちょっと待って、続きをやるってのはないの？どういうこと？設定を変えるわけじゃないでしょ。最初から始めるちょっとやってるわけで、あれどういう意味？最初から始める？大きな赤さだ。はじめまして、ポケットモンスターの世界へ。大きな赤さですまん。やかさ。私の名前は大木戸。みんなからはポケモン博士と慕われておるよ。はい、よくご存知いただきます。この世界にはポケットモンスターと呼ばれる生き物たちが至るところに住んでいる。はい。ちょっと待ってこれ。
All right. Yeah, thanks for listening. That was a bit longer than I'd expected, playing that great clip. But just to bring people up to speed, I don't know if... Are your headphones working?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here now with co-host Taylor.
Yeah, hey.
Hey. So what we're looking at the moment is a Japanese actor's dramatic Pokemon save data loss that has gone viral yesterday when triggering traumatic memories. So we were just listening to his YouTube clip collection there. This is from, do you ever play the Pokemon games?
Come on, mate. Of course I have.
Gosh, yeah, I know. Totally. Thank goodness for that.
But my first one was Ruby. I never played anything before that.
Okay.
And then I went back and played the originals.
Right, because this is the game he was playing was
Red, blue. Or green.
So this place, Pokemon Red.
Yeah.
Where's Pokemon Red?
That's that's the first one.
Right. So
Red and blue in America / the world. Red and green in Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
I don't know, but that's why it was. That's why they redid it for the Game Boy. When they redid it, it was fire red and leaf green, and people were like, "Well, why isn't it fire red and water blue?" It's like, well, because in Japan it was green. It was never blue.
Mind blown. I mean, I wonder how many comments we're going to get from that reaction, because his comment that he lost his save game quickly amassed 4.4 million views with 200 comments. So I'm hoping SMS in now. Anyway, so the because he posted that my Pokemon Red Game Boy cartridge, so I guess he was playing on an actual Game Boy cartridge system rather than an emulator, just vanished when he booted it up after X number of millions of hours playing it. So he goes on to say, in my remaining lifetime, I will not find another adventure to embark on. So rather dramatic.
Yeah.
His unfortunate data loss experience attracted many sympathetic comments, with people reminiscing about the sadness they've felt when they've lost valuable saves when they were children. Did you ever lose any saves, particularly, I guess, cartridge-based systems like a Game Boy, N64, PS1, PS2?
I don't think I've ever had a loss like that, a corruption or anything like that. I take care of my things.
I recently had that problem where
you save scum.
Oh no, what happened was, this was the game I'd been save scumming forever on.
Okay.
And that's right, I was using OneDrive to cloud save where the save files were going from Paradox, the game provider for Crusader Kings 3. Anyway, and I for some reason, like, I've been using two OneDrive accounts, and anyway, the account that had all those saves linked to them wasn't syncing properly, and by the time I sorted it out, it had lost those saves. So I was right back to, like, I don't know, 2 years ago when I bought the game. So it does happen. It does happen.
Well, actually, when we're talking about old tech, that reminds me of, I think it was around 2 or 3 months ago, Nintendo said that they have officially run out of Nintendo 3DS repair kits.
Right.
So if you have a 3DS and you break anything on it, up until about 3 months ago, you could have at least sent it back and they might have fixed it, or you might have sent it to some sort of store and that store might have got the parts and fixed it. But now they're not making any more. It's all gone. All of the reserves are gone.
Right to repair. right to repair. All right, so the next story. It's
really a kalimba?
They're great. The thumb piano.
Yeah.
Do you know how to play the kalimba?
No, but I could probably pick it up in 5 minutes.
All right, well, you can be in charge of playing the kalimba tunes.
Okay, cool.
While we're going from story to story. So, okay, next story. This is from Engadget. Star Wars Tales of the Underworld will premiere on Fortnite beginning May 2nd, which blows my mind. So this...
Shouldn't it be May the 4th?
Well, yeah, actually, that's a great point. May the 4th is actually the holiday. The fake Star Wars holiday. May the 4th be with you. So a bit of Star Wars news. So this is the new animated Star Wars series. And strangely, the first, it's at least episode 1, is premiering on the game platform Fortnite. Right? So... could you imagine logging into Fortnite, then taking your character, because it says that viewing will take place in the in-game location called Star Wars Watch Party Island. You've got to go to this island, and then you'll see a screen, right, on the island, like a movie screen.
But it's not in-game.
Well, it is. You've got your character.
No, but it's not in like a...
Oh, the fighting is switched off.
The fighting's switched off.
Yeah,
because
but you still got your avatar.
I saw a... It's a singer I don't particularly like.
K-pop?
No, Tones and I.
Tones and I. Right.
Yeah, who did the Dance Monkey song.
One. Oh, right.
Yeah. She had a concert in Fortnite.
Oh.
And you just basically load up into this screen and sort of like... There are all these visuals, there's like the video of it, and then suddenly you'll be like transported down some sort of tunnel, and it's like all with the music's going, and it's like a visualizer sort of effect sort of thing. And so it's still sort of like a playable experience rather than just watching something.
I'm living in the future kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So yeah, it'd be interesting. SMS in now if you're planning to do it. Okay, next story. Yeah. Musical interlude. That's quite good. Fallout creator says he was ordered to destroy source code that the studio has since lost. I had that in digital form and was ordered to destroy it. So this is a case. This is the Fallout creator Tim Kaine, and he was in an interview, and he said, this horrible thing happened, and it's happened. In terms of its standard practice, he said in his experience working with a company, where after you finish the job, they'll ask you to destroy all copies of the source code, right? And that they will then be the custodians and librarian guardian of the source code, right? So it'll be held in the company, right, rather than the creator's hands. So he said this has happened a couple of times where he's gone ahead, destroyed everything as required, and then the company has lost it. Right? And he said he found this out because he was... So this was like years after he destroyed it. He goes... where is it? So then he says, a few years later, after I'd left the company, they contacted me and said, oops, we've lost it. And I thought at first they were trapping me into confessing that he'd made a legal error by keeping them. But he said, no, I destroyed them like he told me to. And it turned out that they'd really lost them. Yeah. And they were
panicking.
They were hoping he hadn't done what he was legally required to do. Yeah. Anyway, so he's saying, this is a problem because there are so many games out there in from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that source code is just gone. Yeah. Because of mismanagement and
which reminds me of
Doctor Who.
How what?
The black and white Doctor Who episodes are gone. The BBC
enough.
Taped over all the...
Yeah, fair enough. But also, in terms of how we're talking about how DS has been the 3DS is the one that they've got no more parts for it. So don't they then have some sort of obligation to let it be emulated? Or is it just going to go into the ether?
Yep. Well, emulators, SMS in now, or send us a message on the chat if you have, the revolution starts here. Next story, yep. You're doing well. It's beautiful. George Lucas here in the next story posted it on Gizmodo as well as a couple of other spaces. Anyway, article from Gizmodo saying...
You know, the funny thing about that, first of all, is I've always looked at that and it says very clearly Gizmodo, not Gizmondo.
It does too. I don't know, Mondo though. Mondo is much better Modo.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Gizmodo. Their headline is, reveals why Yoda talks like that. George Lucas does.
Nice.
I see what they've done there. The Star Wars creator recently settled a long-standing question about the Jedi Master. So let's play the clip that this is part of. So here's George Lucas recently talking at, I think it's like a...
Comic-Con sort of thing.
It was, something like that. Anyway.
Why does Yoda speak backwards?
Much to learn, you still have.
Well,
I will tell you.
Okay, thank you.
Yoda had a very distinctive way of talking because, and it was done purposely because if you were speaking regular English or people don't listen that much. But if he has an accent or it's really hard to understand what he's saying, they focus on what he's saying.
Jedi Master Yoda. You seek Yoda. You know him? Take it to him, Ariel.
And what he was basically the philosopher of the movie. Right. So he was talking about all of the things, in long talking scenes and stuff where I had to figure out a way to get people to actually listen, especially 12-year-olds.
All right, so George Lucas's answer there in terms of why Yoda speaks kind of inverted is so it will force people to listen to what he's saying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what? So it's that kind of slow down and listen effect, which...
But as a movie maker, shouldn't everyone be listening to what your characters are saying all the time? You just make everyone speak like that. I mean,
that's great. I like that theory. If this is true, well, let's have a look. I did ask some leading theorists. ChatGPT. Yeah. So let's start with John Fiske. John Fiske is one of my favorite cultural studies theorists.
Okay.
He came up with the concept of cultural economy and textual poaching. So I asked ChatGPT to say what John Fiske would have said about Yoda's distinctive speech pattern. Okay, so in terms of cultural economy theory, so this is a theory about how media creates hierarchies of meaning and value. Yoda's speech, marked by inverted syntax, immediately sets him apart from other characters, because I guess no one else speaks in inverted syntax in Star Wars. And
R2-D2 does.
Well, who knows what syntax that is, right? Beeps and boops. So it immediately sets him apart. I guess within the setting, I guess it could signal wisdom, mysticism, unconventional worldview, right? Because you're like out of inverted syntax, so unconventional. His speech pattern functions as a form of cultural capital, possibly, right? Because it distinguishes him as ancient, enlightened figure whose wisdom transcends conventional language structures. Right? I mean, that or crazy person.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It goes on to say, in the broader cultural economy of Star Wars, Yoda's speech reinforces his outsider status, which I guess he is an outsider. He's certainly
little
the
green,
only
pointy-eared goblin dude.
Yeah. There aren't many others, though,
no.
Are there? He's not part of the dominant linguistic order of the galaxy, much like how
American English is.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm going to get around to that. Much like how marginalized groups often develop unique linguistic styles to set them apart. Yeah, like, have you ever encountered any unique linguistic styles in your experiences of subcultures, bumping into groups of young hooligans? With their own...
I guess what I disagree with there is that usually this sort of in culture slang, etc., is used with other members of that species, whereas Yoda doesn't speak to anybody else that speaks like that.
Well, maybe his native tongue is back to France, and then when he translates to speak English, he keeps that uniqueness. In terms of Fiske's idea of textual poaching, so that's where you'll parody or you'll adopt bits of a franchise to look cool. You'll put stickers of Fortnite on your laptop.
Hasn't happened yet.
Fiske's textual poaching, right? So reinterpret and repurpose. Yoda's speech pattern has been widely parodied, quoted, and adapted by fans.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly in terms of if you want to do a voice, like kind of gravelly...
Brilliant.
Voice, that's pretty good. Yeah. That was pretty good. Voice as well as then talking in inverted syntax.
You've been practicing that, haven't you?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of pop culture significance there. Hall's theory. I can keep beating on about this. he says pretty much the same thing. Well, actually, I did another search, which was applying Blake Snyder's Save the Cat framework.
Oh, yeah.
To explain what Yoda's speech pattern means. And that was interesting because it did pick up moments of where Yoda's mannerisms could be linked to a plot point. So, the first one is the kind of the setup and theme, right? So the argument there is that Yoda's speech immediately signals that he is different. So I guess if you're setting up the theme that in Empire Strikes Back, Luke Skywalker escapes from Hoth, he goes to Dagobah to train with the Jedi Master, doesn't know what Yoda looks like, but encounters this green pointy goblin. And because it's talking in inverted syntax, I guess it's a setup and theme establishment that it's different. Right? You're encountering difference. As to whether or not that's ancient and wise difference, Luke Skywalker doesn't think that's the case with the first encounter. It then goes on to talk about the second storytelling beat that can happen is the catalyst and debate beat. So in this way, it's so the catalyst is events that propel a hero into action. So when Luke Skywalker meets Yoda, he initially doubts that the small, strange creature is in fact wise because he's talking in inverted syntax. So that's a catalyst. This moment aligns with a debate. So Luke Skywalker is debating, surely you're not Yoda. Do I trust Yoda or this green pointy goblin dude? And when the green pointy goblin says he is Yoda, do I trust him because his speech pattern does not seem to be wise? Bad guys close in, right? Narrative beat 3. This is interesting to me. Snyder's framework emphasizes that obstacles should intensify the story as the story progresses. So as the story goes on, you get to Act 2 and 3, there should be more and more obstacles and they should be getting more intense. Yoda's speech becomes more cryptic and challenging. It says, as Luke struggles with his training, his unconventional syntax forces Luke and the audience to slow down and reflect. And this is what, I guess, George Lucas is saying about that decision. He wanted the audience to slow down and reflect. It's interesting that this is saying that in terms of storytelling in universe, maybe what's happening here is Yoda's also getting Luke to slow down and reflect by delivering his wisdom in inverted syntax. Do you reckon if you're a teacher, you should invert syntax to help students slow down and reflect on the points you're making?
No. Who's your favourite Star Wars character?
Dengar. He's the one that has toilet paper wrapped around him as one of the bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back. He was meant to be a key villain figure with Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi. But then they dropped that storyline in terms of it then became closing the narrative arc with Darth Vader. But yeah, I choose that because it's such a weird, stupid decision to say Dengar. But I always thought his action figure looked really cool, and I was disappointed with how he was used in the movies. Because he basically is there in one scene, doesn't say anything. I don't think he says anything. You can read my fan fiction.
Yeah.
Who's your favourite Star Wars character?
I probably don't have one now, but when I was a kid, Mace Windu.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing the prequels?
Yeah.
Mace Windu's cool. Samuel L. Jackson, can't deny that. He features heavily in a lot of the memes that come out of the Star Wars universe.
But I liked him pre-meme when I was a kid. I liked him because he had a purple lightsaber, and that was my favourite.
From what I remember, that was deliberately Jackson's choice.
Yeah.
He asked for the purple lightsaber. As a teacher, because he's a teacher, right? He's training other Padawans. Does he train Padawans? He busts Anakin's balls, right? He's the one that says you can't become a Padawan. You can't become a master.
Yeah.
Right. So, maybe that tough love that he's doing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's trundle on to new story. New story. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. No, that was very helpful. If I can get the bloody screen to work. Okay, so I want to go into Andor now. there's an article on Polygon talking how Andor's creator isn't shy about his inspiration for the Empire in season 2, and basically it's linking it back to kind of its Nazi symbology and the idea of a kind of right-wing dictatorship Nazi rise with a kind of nascent rebellion. Now, I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about an interesting interview with the 3 actors that play the leading Imperial bad guys. So it's Ben Mendelsohn, who plays one of the big Imperial honchos. I think he's like the second in charge after Darth Vader.
I can't think of what it looks like.
You've got Dennis Gove, who plays that kind of wimpy guy, and then the other actor. Anyway, let's listen.
The other one.
So they're asked in this interview, why are Star Wars villains British?
Okay.
Oh, and I've missed it.
Pay attention.
Now, is there anything you'd care to tell me before I waste more of my time figuring out what it is you are up to?
Any security violation will be brought to the Emperor's personal attention.
Of course, you're perfectly placed to answer this because you're respectively American, Australian, and Irish, of course. So why is it so extraordinarily fitting that in this Star Wars universe that the really evil people are fitted with British accents?
The Empire, darling.
Yes.
Everything sounds a bit more evil when you do it in a very, very strong English accent.
I'll just pause it there. What do you think? In terms of British accents, and everything sounds more evil when you deliver it in an English accent.
I've seen that they've pretty much done that in a lot of the modern movies, but I kind of disagree. I think there's one more accent that does it a lot better.
Yeah?
South African.
Oh, yeah. Although
going back to Indiana Jones, going back to...
Okay. It's interesting, though. I was recently watching Gladiator 2, and that maps out like that. All the bad guys are British accents. In terms of what ChatGPT sees John Fiske's interpretation of this being, and cultural appearance. So again, cultural economy examines how media and cultural products shape or reflect social hierarchies. In Star Wars, the Galactic Empire is portrayed as an authoritarian regime, so like Nazis, and British accents often signal, well, not Nazis, but because they fought against the Nazis, but they signal power, control, and elitism, I guess historically from them as a colonial power. We're talking the Dutch East India Company, the history of imperial colonialism in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries. So it signals power, control, and elitism. Historically, Hollywood has used British accents to represent sophistication and intelligence. Which aligns with the Empire's structured hierarchical nature. This plays into audience expectations. British accents evoke a sense of calculated villainy, making the antagonist more imposing. So I guess if you're wanting to shortcut or shorthand, this is a bad guy, British accent. Well, Ben Mendelsohn, the Australian actor, offers a really, really, I think, different approach to this question a little later, but we'll listen to some further answers from the interview with the actors.
Turn out the lights.
Because I tried to do it in Irish. Initially, when I got the scripts and I rang Tony and I was like, this just is not going to work. They're not going to have an Irish woman in the Empire. I'm sorry, we just don't sound evil enough. And then we tried American and it didn't work. So we all fall back on the British.
And there's a historical reason for it too. Typically, we're talking about American films and, the villain would be played by the heavyweight actors and they tended to be Brits and whatnot, so you had an English, you had your Vincent Prices, etc., etc.
The lakes and ponds became black and stagnant, and the land withered as before a plague.
Peter Cushing, etc., etc.
We will deal with your rebel friends soon enough.
Yeah, Ian McDiarmid.
Yes, the mighty.
Yeah, the mighty Ian.
So I'll pause it there. As an actor, what do you think so far? That when early in Hollywood, I mean, not that you were acting in the
Early in
1930s,
Hollywood, yeah.
but I thought it was a really interesting point in terms of saying that they'll often cast, the villain role needs a lot of heavy gravitas and a heavy hitter, so they'll cast someone maybe with theatrical training, right? Someone that comes from theatre, maybe an old school actor, which is inevitably going to be British, that kind of Shakespearean theatrical training.
Theatre.
Yeah, Peter Cushing. I mean, Vincent Price isn't British, but nevertheless, he does affect the British accent in some of the horror films. Ian McDermott. Anyway, the guy that plays the Emperor, because of that theatrical Shakespearean training. Do you reckon the villain role does require someone that has better acting chops?
I'm not sure.
Like if you've got a bad actor doing a villain role, it's more likely to fall apart as a movie or an theatre act than if the hero is a bad actor. Like, does the villain have to do all the heavy lifting in terms of makes the villain can make the good guy look better, but it's hard for if there's a bad actor as the villain, it's hard for the hero to make that bad actor look better as a villain. I know. I mean, I think
that's interesting.
Well, I think like the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves with that had Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, that star. It was.
I mean, all I can think of in terms of like having a big heavyweight as like the villain is Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, that's right. With
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, so Silence of the Lambs. Well, okay. First,
okay, yeah, Prince of Thieves. Let's go with that.
Because you had Kevin Costner, and in fact, talking of accents, I was listening recently to a podcast that was saying how when Kevin Costner first was on stage and performed his English accent because he's playing Robin Hood, the director was so unimpressed with his English accent that he said, "You're just playing it as an American." You're just playing the role with an American accent. But that was really stolen by Alan Rickman, who played the Sheriff of Nottingham, who really was seen to steal the movie as the villain. Yeah. Again, wonderful British accents. And that seems to conform to that idea of, you want your Bruce Willis playing off Alan Rickman in Die Hard. I don't know. I mean, Alan Rickman's accent in Die Hard is kind of German, English
sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was most recently on stage, I didn't play the villain, but I played the comedy aspect of it.
It was Agatha Christie.
Agatha Christie.
Yep.
Played the comedy aspect of it. What sort of accent did I have? Welsh.
How does the Welsh accent go?
Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun.
That's perfect. We should do more voices. Okay, so Ben Mendelsohn saying one of the things that made it more likely to have British accents was
having a
heavy
seasoned actor.
Let's hear how it goes next then.
In time you will call me Master.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
The Rebel Alliance is too well equipped.
Yes, my lord.
Intensify the forward batteries. I don't want anything to get through. Where's my air wing?
It was easy last season to talk about the Empire as being, we want to be in the Empire. It was kind of, there was a little bit of campery to it in a way.
Yeah.
This season, that's all gone. It's really gone. It's not camp anymore.
Yeah.
The rebels are finished.
I think Fiona doing her own accent as Cassian's mother was so inspired. It was so beautiful to have an Irish woman being the leader of that, like the start of his rebellion.
People are standing up.
I felt very, very proud, but I'm really enjoying, mincing about as a terribly posh English person.
What are you doing, Mr. Khan?
Cassian Andor is a murderer and a threat to the Empire. I have been trying to find him.
And then Genevieve, obviously, is also Irish.
The Public Order Resentencing Directive is the next step on an all-too-predictable march toward complete, unchallenged authority.
I'm just reading ahead through some of the ChatGPT prompts I did.
Yeah.
It's interesting, again, going via Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, which is a kind of script writing Bible that some people use to write scripts for movies. Breaking it apart in terms of the choice of accents, in terms of why villains often have British accents. He defines some of the reasons in terms of plot narrative. I was just reading the catalyst and debate moment. The catalyst is, again, the event that propels the hero into action. In Star Wars, this is often the Empire's oppressive action, again, delivered in British accents. The British accented villains create a clear ideological contrast between the Empire and the rebellion, particularly, I guess, if the rebellion are speaking other accents. Like there we heard the fact that some of the rebellion figures are Irish, have very strong Irish accents, their native Irish tongue, or American accents. Snyder says that, or the ChatGPT says that, could be mirroring historical conflicts like the American Revolution, where British rule was resisted. So historically, yeah, there'll be moments in American history where they fought the British American Revolution. So the British were the bad guys in that struggle of independence.
I mean, that does make sense, like in terms of like historical things like that. But the people, like, for it to be so ingrained within our culture, has to be something different than that.
Well, yeah, and I think part of it is that the history of British British economic and cultural imperialism in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. You know, the horrible history of British imperialism into India, Australia, that invasion. It's part of that. Then also, I do like the idea that part of it could also be them hiring heavy-hitting actors that have that gravitas, Shakespearean, theatrically trained actors. So you've got Alec Guinness, good guy though, right? But very British accents. So actually he's a counterpoint to that, but maybe it's the exception that proves the rule. Do you have any other feelings around accents in Star Wars? The use of British accents?
Not really.
Yoda accents?
No.
You can't really. I mean,
Mace Windu's accent. Now that's an accent.
That's American independence. That's and particularly because he fights off against the Emperor. That's Ian McDermott, I think is the actor's name, who's British and performing in Shakespearean British. So it is striking. You know, everything from certainly. You know, the Romans, in any movie, I watched Ben-Hur over Easter.
Oh, my Lord.
All of the Romans are theatrical British performers, right? And they're all, like, chewing up the scenery with their Shakespearean background.
Same with Life of Brian.
Yes, yeah. Are there any... do any of them not speak British, like, posh English in that?
I remember when I was a kid, right? And as a treat, the teacher put on Ben-Hur to watch.
Okay, Charlton Heston classic.
The full Ben-Hur across the whole day.
3 hours, 3+ hours.
3+ hours plus the intermission.
It's fantastic.
It was the worst thing I've ever sat through.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're doing it for school, anything's going to suck. Yeah. I mean, unless there's some sexy scenes in it or something.
But it was like a treat sort of thing. And it went on for... so long.
But look, I mean, I caught it recently again, introduced my daughter to it. She hadn't seen it. I loved it. But I do think...
that's a lie.
Well, we split it over 2 nights.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it really does have 2 bite-sized films in it. In terms of the first film, you forget...
And then the chariot race, which goes on for...
I mean, the first film has the climactic third act of the galley battle. With the was it the Persian, I think, versus Roman galleys, and that's pretty much where that ends. And then the second film, then has the huge chariot race, which I think really holds up. I mean, sure, seeing it at school, I mean that's gonna knock a lot of points off of its entertainment value.
Actually, that reminds me. Do you remember back in? So it was in, I think it was 2002. Between 2002 and 2006, every DVD had that You wouldn't steal a handbag. You wouldn't steal a car.
Yes, the anti-piracy warning.
Anti-piracy warning. Interesting thing came out about that over the week, this last week. The font they used was pirated.
Yes, it was the font. That's right. I was trying to remember if it was the music. The font was pirated. Yeah, they didn't get permission. They didn't pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this blatant hypocrisy, isn't it? I mean, what type of... I wonder if people that got... well, you wouldn't get busted because of that ad, but nevertheless, it does show you the hypocrisy behind it, and also the difficulty of navigating that proprietary environment sometimes. And a media mothership, that's why we have the wonderful sounds of our kalimba. Kalimba action here on Media Mothership. Yep, so we'll be releasing a CD probably by the end of the year, I'm thinking. We're getting some great tunes coming in. SMS in now if you have any kalimba requests.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Media Mothership. So I guess the other thing that I found interesting about that clip we just heard was one of the actress saying how proud she felt of hearing her native language, her native dialect, the Irish dialect, our accent being spoken in Star Wars Andor. Have you ever felt an overwhelming sense of pride when you've heard the Australian accent suddenly burst through in a movie, TV shows?
It's really jarring every time it happens, isn't it?
Recently encountered a jarring experience?
No, because I generally tend to stay away from it.
It is interesting when the Australian accent is nestled in a whole other, smorgasbord of accents.
All right, mate.
I often find it plays very broad.
Punches through.
And often is quite a poor. It doesn't. I mean, in terms of soft power, I guess what we're talking about here is the kind of attraction, positiveness someone feels towards an ephemeral thing like an accent. The British accent has a lot of soft power. As we're literally unpacking it here with Star Wars, we're saying, why is the British accent used? It's for all these kind of reasons around villainy and power and menace that can convey authoritarian control, right? That's a huge amount of soft power. It's not them physically being aggressive or sounding, angry or powerful, but it's just the power of the accent. The Australian accent, it doesn't. When like you got Crocodile Dundee, Crocodile Hunters, so you might see that accent comes up as a parody of that kind of Aussie, outdoor, rural, bush type vibe. But that we've been stuck with that since forever, right? It really is not at all part of the cultural imagining today. And you've got various Australian actors, Russell Crowe, thinking of Gladiator, Ben Mendelsohn himself, that we just heard from then. But they rarely, it seems, give a Hollywood movie performance in their Australian tongue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what's his name? Thor fellow.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Didn't perform Thor via Australian accent, performed it via British accent.
Yeah.
Are there any superheroes that have Australian accent? No.
Back onto Irish accents.
Yeah.
Do you have, can you name an Irish movie?
There's a really abominable, well, not abominable, one of Sean Connery's first films.
Okay, yeah.
I forget what it's called, but he played an Irishman in 1920s Ireland. An Irish film. Yeah.
I've got one that you might like.
Okay.
With your extensive experience in horror genre, comedy space. Grabbers.
Oh, okay. Grabbers. I've not heard of it.
It's an Irish-made film, Irish-starred film, and it's all about these creatures that are coming up from the sea and birthing eggs on the beach.
Wow.
And these eggs hatch and they start killing everybody. And then they figure out that the only way to sort of be saved is to get blackout drunk. And then when the creature tries to eat them, it gets poisoned by the alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So this is the trailer. Very spooky sound effects. This came out in 2012.
Yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
So he's been grabbed then.
It's always the quiet places where the mad shit happens.
They're pilot whales. They died at sea.
I call myself a sea monster.
This is something totally different. Something alien.
You don't believe me? Not a bit.
Christ. Didn't I tell you?
I believe in coincidences.
Not really.
You are so lucky she didn't kill you.
You were drunk.
If we taint our blood with booze, we're poisonous to eat.
It's the whole movie.
It's extraordinary.
We stay out of the rain, and we drink.
You're throwing a party. It's a welcome party for me. But we're leaving in a fortnight. It's just a goodbye party, whatever. Tequila! She's out of the door. Got it all under control. There's none trying to kill you.
Have you got Semtex on you? Not on me, no.
It does remind me a bit of the real world phenomena of where you find something you think is actually bad for you is good for you suddenly.
Yeah.
Right. So like, bit of red wine. Actually, some of that each week is good for you. Coffee. Doesn't that have? It's like, wow, in this way it can be good for you. So it does. I think it does play into that as well. Does it? What a delightful idea. Grabbers came out in 2012. How did you come across that?
So the way that I came across that is the police officer, the female police officer that you see in there.
Yes, and wonderful Irish accents.
Yes. I forgot what her name is, but she's in the Doctor Who audios where she plays Molly O'Sullivan, and so.
Is that a companion or
for one particular audio adventure?
Right. Which Doctor?
What is it? 8th. Doctor Who the movie. Paul McGann.
Oh, really? Paul McGann, the Forgotten Doctor.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
but not in the audio world. He is
totally.
Star of the audio world.
Precisely. It's such a fascinating little transmedia moment of fandom there. That the audio adventures is where his because he performs it still, right? I mean, it's wow. I'm sure we're going to be asked to do that. Wonderful. All right. Well, so anyway, so that's how you came across it. You then did a search of their...
Yeah, because I was like trying to figure out who this woman was, and she's in a movie. And so it was the first movie I bought on iTunes. Actually, was that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm glad you didn't, just steal a handbag.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
or a font.
Or a font. Thanks for listening. This has been Craig and Taylor here from Media Mothership on Edge Radio. We'll post some show notes and clips up on YouTube and Twitch, as well as I'll produce this up as a podcast. Next week, I'm not sure. Not sure about what we're doing.
Okay,
we'll be doing something.
Yeah.
You can listen to previous episodes on YouTube, Twitch, and at edgeradio.org.au, or your podcast provider of choice.
And Patreon.
Yeah, right. I'm not touching Patreon till I get at least 500 fans. Find out more about Media Mothership on Facebook and Instagram. Keep listening now to Edge Radio. Do we have any announcements of your show starting up soon?
Still
nascent.
Going towards it.
Right. Yeah. You want to plug your your Facebook page for it? Yeah, if people are interested.
Oh, yeah. YouTube.com, Facebook.com /DM for Airplay.
DM for Airplay.
Send your tracks in.
Yep. So if you've got some great kalimba tunes,
send
them in to DM for Airplay, and they might be played on Taylor's new show.